Hello, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm Bill, glad you could join me. In this episode, we're going to revisit the water pasteurization using solar. Stay tuned. Okay, I recently shot an episode on water pasteurization using solar with an improvised automobile sunshade. And I used a half a gallon of water in a pot and was able to get the temperature up to about 155 degrees. So I wanted to revisit this experiment. My idea is to use a smaller volume of water. I'm thinking maybe a half a gallon was asking quite a bit from this setup. So what I want to do is I'm going to try a quart this time, which will be half the volume that we used last time, and run it for a couple hours. So we're going to go ahead and document this and then check the water temperature and see if we can get it up a little bit higher. 155 degrees, based on research, is a sufficient temperature to kill Giardia and Cryptosporidium if they're exposed to that temperature for 30 minutes or longer. 30 minutes being the minimum according to research. But I'd like to see if we can get it up a little bit higher. So in this episode, we're going to try a quart, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing set up, and we'll get this started. Stay tuned. All right, I'm going to use the exact same setup that was used in the previous episode. Same pot, oven baggie, meat thermometer, and instead of half a gallon of water, I've got about a quart in here. When I poured the half a gallon in last time, it brought the water level up to about a half inch below the lip here, so we're at about half the volume this time. I'd like to see if we can get this up above 155 degrees. And I've got my twist tie here on the camera tripod. Put this in here. The oven baggie, as I explained in a couple previous episodes, the oven baggie acts to trap and retain the heat. I've got this on a slight slope here on the ground. The ground's a bit uneven to kind of angle this up towards the sun. I'm hoping that'll work a little bit better too. So let's go get this. Situated there, and see how this goes. So go ahead and I'll go ahead and bounce back and forth with this, and do some updates on the temperature. The temperature's already climbing here. All right. Yeah, the temperature's already climbing pretty rapidly, actually. About 135, and this is just in the course of a couple minutes. Flying right up to 140. Now, in the last episode, we just broke 200 degrees, which I thought was pretty impressive for an improvised setup like this. Yeah, it's climbing pretty good. Yeah, just about 150 degrees now. So we should get up to about 200 again. This ground being sloped upward, so it's angled towards the sun a little bit better, I think will work just a bit better. Hopefully. So I'm going to go ahead and... Wow, that thing's really going up fast. Yeah, we'll be at 160 here pretty quick. Wow, that thing's really going up now. Well, maybe I'll just go ahead and hang in here. We can just kind of watch the temperature climb. Kind of gives us an idea of how rapidly the temperature increases with this setup. And it is, for time check, whoop, I've got the zoom on. It's 11:16. So we'll use that as our start point here. I'm hoping to get this water temperature up, smaller volume. I'm hoping to get it up to around, oh, I don't know, 160, 165 would be nice. This is just another, just a revisit of the previous experiment. I got to thinking maybe a half a gallon was a lot of water to try and bring the temperature up with, so I started thinking, well, let's try a quart. See how that goes. I've cooked with these and they work good as a slow cooker, so I know the temperature in the pot has got to be at least getting 170, 180 degrees, because the food's always well done. But a half a gallon of water is quite a bit. Yeah, it's getting up there. And then to orient this, as I've described in the other, whoop, sorry about that, guys. To orient this into the sun, you just want to keep your shadows equidistant on either side, and you'll have to readjust this to stay in alignment with the sun. So you just grab the tail of it and move it. You're always going to move it to the left, as the sun's moving this way from left to right. So you can see we're pretty much on target right here. So you just keep it in line with the sun, and we have a pretty good little up slope here with the ground, so it's kind of angling it up towards the sun there. Another little view of it. And let's see what the temp looks like. It looks like we're about 180 now. Apologies for the herky-jerky camera work. Yeah, about 180. Should get up to about 200. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and we'll just bounce back periodically and do a temp check, and I don't know, leave it in here for a couple hours, I guess. Usually when condensation forms on the inside of the bag, that's usually your cue that your food inside is cooking, because it's getting hot enough for the water vapors to the water to vaporize the liquids, and they recondense on the inside of the bag. When you get a pretty decent condensation buildup, that's usually a cue that the food's done. I'm going to kind of look for that on this one. We had some condensation last time, but wasn't a whole lot. See, we're still climbing here. This is just another use for a car sunshade. I get the thicker ones. I get these 99-cent store, like $1.99, and I use them as ground pads for sleeping, and they work pretty good for, in that aspect, and they also work good as fire reflectors. See, we're still climbing here, coming up on a $1.90, so I'll go ahead and bounce back in a little bit and periodically with some updates. So let's keep the fingers crossed. Hopefully we can get a little bit higher water temp than 155. Stay tuned. Okay, first update. It's been about 15 minutes. And we're looking at about 197. About 195. Yeah, about 195. I'm hoping we're going to hit 200 or better. So anyways, that's a 15-minute update, so we'll keep an eye on this. Stay tuned. Alright, we're at about the 20-minute mark. It's 84 degrees out here. Doing a little check on the air temp. And just about 20 minutes since we began this. And it would appear that angling this upward, and I also moved the pod out a little bit. I used to stick them back in the corner, but you can see how bright that is back behind the pot. That allows all that UVA and UVB radiation to get back behind the pot, and everything just kind of bounces around back in there. So I believe this is a much more efficient setup here. Like I said, experimenting with this and trying to fine-tune things. We're about 20 minutes into it. And we're at about, we broke 200 degrees. We're at about 202, 203. I can't touch that pot, and I can't touch the handles. It'll burn me. It's that hot. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on this. Very curious to see what the refinements will do, and hopefully we can get that water temp up. Also, as I mentioned, at the beginning of this episode, there's a slight, the ground slopes upward, so that angles this up to the sun. There's also, it's a little bit of a concave. You can see where the pot's kind of sitting. I could actually probably excavate that out a little more, so it's another little refinement there that seems to be working. It just seems to, it angles it upward into the sun, and then the concave area also helps. And it's definitely not a parabola. It's a rough cone shape, but I think little refinements like that, every little bit helps. But yeah, that thing's still climbing. We're moving up to about 210 degrees. That's higher than the last experiment. I think we hit about 2. We just broke 2 last time. Just barely went over 2. I think we're about 201, 202. So we're about 205 degrees right now. And the air temp's a lot less. Last time it was about 100 out. It's about 84 out here right now, so it's actually pretty comfortable. I like to see refinements, small adjustments to a model actually produce positive results. It's very encouraging. Very encouraging. Be interesting to see if we're going to hit 210. So we're about 205. And we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. Not bad for an improvised sunshade. Actually pretty impressed with this. Man, we're easing up to that 210 mark. We'll check back in a bit. Stay tuned. Okay, we're at about 40 minutes into this. And yes, the refinements are actually, they're surpassing my expectations by quite a bit. Isn't that something? We are just a little over the boiling point of water at sea level, 212. Probably about 213 right there. I really didn't expect it to do that. So now I'm wondering, are we going to peg that thermometer? Maybe. I really did not expect this. I thought maybe a few degrees, but I didn't think it was going to go this high. So yeah, everything that's being done here, the minor refinements, definitely working very well. Yeah, and the water is going to, I'm thinking even if that kettle was full, obviously the temperature is going to be higher, the water temp. So yeah, I'm definitely going to rule this pasteurization technique a success. When we measure the temperature of the water, it's obviously going to be a lot hotter than 155 degrees. Combined with the smaller volume of water in the pot and the higher temps, significantly higher temps, I wouldn't be surprised if we see somewhere in the neighborhood of the 160s, 65 maybe. Might even get shocked and see 180, 190 on the water temp. I don't know. We won't know until we check it out, but I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this for a while. The pot is so hot, I can't put my hand on it. It would burn, it would blister me. So go ahead and I'll keep checking back. Stay tuned. All right, we're looking at about 47 minutes. I really didn't expect these minor refinements to work this well. Very surprised. We're about ready to peg this thermometer. That would be absolutely wild if we can get that water in there near boiling temps. I don't know if it would, but we certainly have some pretty impressive temperatures here for this setup. These little refinements seem to be working very well. I really wasn't expecting this. Moving that pot right up here, that seems to be a sweet spot that allows all that UVA and UVB. You can see how bright it is back behind the pot. So all that radiation gets in there and just bounces around. And then the ground here, there's a slight concave depression here as well. So if you're going to do this, you can always kind of excavate out a little spot, kind of a concave depression, and put a little slope on it so it angles it up into the sun. But yeah, I'm absolutely blown away. We're almost at 220. It's still climbing. Seriously, I really wasn't expecting this. And that's well, it's 12:04. So we're about 49, almost 50 minutes into this. And it's a pleasant day out here in the 80s. It's about 84 degrees. Slight breeze. And that's why I like these thicker. I like using the thicker sunshades. There's two grades of these. Some are real thin and cheap. The problem with that is they want to fold over on themselves. They don't hold their shape, and a little bit of breeze will push them over. I've never had a problem with this at all. The breeze hits it, it'll move it a little bit. You can probably see it kind of wiggling slightly, but it's never folded over onto itself. So I'll go ahead and I'll, if I remember, I'll put links in the description box below to the two previous episodes on this. One where I cooked a Cornish game hen. I quartered it up and put potatoes and everything in the same setup, but not as efficiently as this. And it worked great. It actually cooked it really well. Enjoyed a real nice meal. Cooked it in lemon juice. Anyways, we'll stick with this. Actually, since I've been sitting here talking, we're right about 220 now. Pegging that, just about pegging that thermometer. Really wasn't expecting this. Stay tuned. All right, we are at about the 1 hour mark, and this thing is still going up. It's at about 200 and almost 222. I don't know how much further that thermometer is going to be able to go, or if it's pegged. That's where we sit right now. I'm extremely impressed. And condensation is beginning to form in the bag. You can see that. All that condensation. That's a good sign. So what that's telling us is that the water, the liquids, are getting hot enough in there to vaporize, and they are condensing on the inside of the plastic. So go ahead and run this for a while. I guarantee you the water temp's going to be, it's going to be hotter than 155, which was the maximum temperature in the last episode. So yeah, very impressed with this. I wasn't expecting this. Just a few little minor, very minor adjustments, and achieved some very significant results. That's actually going up even higher. So we're definitely at about 222 right now. So we will go ahead and stick with this, and I will be back in a bit. Stay tuned. All right. We are at about an hour and 15 minutes. The bag is starting to fog up on the inside, which is a good sign. You can see this is all fogging over here. There's quite a bit of condensation through here. But look at the temp. We are at about 225 degrees. I had no idea this was going to do it, reach those types of temperatures. Very impressed. Actually blown away. So from now on, what I'm going to do is, when I go to use this to cook with, I'll look for an area of ground which is like this. It has a little slopes, about 3 degrees maybe. A little concave depression, and if it's not, I can always excavate out a little spot, set the cooker on, and that way I can just track it with the sun. But yeah, combined with moving the pot forward, amazing results. I'm really blown away that such minor adjustments like that would yield such huge results. Yeah, this whole thing's starting to fog up, so that water's getting hot in there. So we're just going to let it go for a while, maybe another 30 minutes or so, and it gets pretty fogged up, a lot of condensation in there. We'll go ahead and do a temperature check on the water. I'm going to have to, I think I have a bandana in the truck. I won't be able to handle that pot. It is hot. Even that thermometer will burn me. So anyways, guys, we'll check back on this in a little bit. Stay tuned. All right, we are at about an hour and a half, and I'm assuming the thermometer has moved up as high as it can go. You can see all the condensation in here. A lot of condensation. We're showing about 225. I'm assuming that's as high as the thermometer can go, so it may be even hotter in there, but I would say the thermometer is pegged, so who knows what it is. It could be 230. I'm going to give this a while longer, probably another 30 minutes. It's a lot more condensation forming, so I'm going to give it about 30 minutes or so. And then we'll go ahead and do a temperature check on that water. Stay tuned. All right, it's 106. So we're just under 2 hours, but I wanted to show you the temperature. The thermometer is still rising, and if you can see it, it looks like we're reading about 230. See if you can see what I'm looking at here. Okay, there's the end of the 220 mark, and it's still rising into that circle. There's the, or 220 rather. So if you look at the gap on that, I'm going to say we're probably real close to 230. Pretty close to 230 degrees. That's pretty incredible for a little cheap improvised setup like this. I have to confess, I'm pretty impressed with this. Good multi-use item that can achieve temperatures like that. Pretty impressed. So a lot more condensation forming. We're going to go ahead and let this go for a bit, and might be able to see the temp through here. Yeah, there's a lot of condensation blocking it, but if you judge the gap on there, I'm going to say it's probably about 230 degrees. A lot of condensation in there. All right. The condensation continues to form. There's a lot of it in there. And the temperature is about 230. It's pretty hard to see. And that's guesstimating the gap there. So there's the end of the 220. It's 220 right there. So I'm going to say it's probably around 230 in there. So I'm going to give this a little while longer. We're at about 2 hours and 15 minutes, so we'll give it a little while longer. I want to try and get that water as hot as we can. Give us an idea what this thing will do. But I know the water's still heating up, so the condensation continues to increase in there, so we'll give it a little while longer. 15, 215. I don't know, maybe another 30 minutes. If we were cooking food, I'm sure food would have been done a while ago with those kind of temperatures, so stay tuned. All right, we're approaching the 2 hour and 45-minute mark, and the temperature's still hovering at about 230 degrees Fahrenheit, and there is a lot of condensation that has formed in the bag. So that tells us that the water's nice and hot. Yeah, it's right around 230 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to let this go for a little bit longer. If we were pasteurizing water, I would say it has been pasteurized for a while now. I would say that quart was probably pasteurized a good half hour, 45 minutes ago. So we're looking at what, a couple hours probably to a few hours to pasteurize a quart of water, and you could probably even do a half a gallon in there even with these higher temps, but we'll see how high we can get this here as far as the water temp, part of the experiment. So the bag's nice and puffed up, so it's got a lot of it's getting pressure inside there. So we'll give it a little bit longer. I'm thinking it's 2:45, so 2:15, that'll be the 3-hour mark. I don't see any reason to run it longer than that. And we'll go ahead and pop that and take a temperature check of the water, so stay tuned. Alright, it is 2:03, so we're moving up on the 3-hour mark. This thing is still holding a steady temp of about 230. There's a lot of condensation formed, just running down the inside of the bag. You know, I'm standing here looking at this, and it kind of gave me another brainstorm. Saltwater desalination. That condensation, as it's running, it's going to collect in the bottom of the bag, and if this is all you had to desalinate seawater, I mean, it would work. It's kind of a slow process, though. I mean, if this is all you had, that's all you had to work with. We pull that pot out, we'll see how much water has gathered in the bottom. I mean, it's a pretty slow process as far as desalination goes. There's just another brainstorm that another use for this that kind of struck me as I'm standing here observing it. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to get you guys set up on the tripod, and we're going to pull this out. I got some gloves so I can handle all this. And it's pretty hot. So get you guys set up, pull it out, and we'll do a temp check on that water. I'm going to guess, oh, I don't know. I'm going to say we might be up around up in the 160s. It might surprise us, maybe higher, but it's definitely hot enough to pasteurize the water. My brain's kind of going on this desalination. May have to mix up some salt water. Of course, I actually don't need to do that, just put water in there and see how long it takes to evaporate, vaporize, recondense. I mean, there's a quart. I started out with about a quart in there, so we'll see how much is collected in the bottom of the bag. I don't expect it'll be a lot, but like I said, if that's all you have to work with, and you know, you use what you have. Anyways, stay tuned. All right, my friends, let's I have a shade coming over from a tree here. I don't really want to move this out of this little depression it's in, so it's perfect timing actually, because we're just about 3 hours into this. So let's pull this out. It's twisty tie. Man, there is heat coming off of this thing. Really impressed with this thing. Got as hot as it did. Oh yeah, there's, wow. And we have steam. I want to get a temp of that water here. Temperature check. Look at the steam. Hopefully the camera picked that up. We are at 100 and look at the steam coming up. We're just under 190. 100 and 1, 2, 3, 4, about 186. Right about 186 degrees. Hopefully the camera is picking that up. Grab a picture of that. So it's about one, it's pulled a couple degrees since we've got it open, but so about 186. Man, that thing's hot. It's burning right through my gloves. Still have steam coming up off of this. I don't know if the camera's catching that, but will it pasteurize water? Absolutely. It'll pasteurize water and then some. I'm very impressed with this. These are still so hot I can barely touch them. I want to see how much water's in this bag. Very impressed with this. I don't expect there's going to be much in here at all. No, there's very, very little. I mean, there's some, but it's very little. I think if you were going to desalinate, use this for desalination, it would take a long time to get some water out of this. But yeah, this is definitely, I'm not even going to try and stick my finger in there. Man, that thing is still hot. So yeah, 186 when we first opened it and checked the temp. And we are still at we're about we're over 170, about 172 still. It's still steaming. I still see steam coming off here. Hopefully the camera picked that up. Anyways, very impressed, very pleased with this setup. Yeah, I just wanted to show how much water was in here. Man, these handles are still hot. And there's still steam coming off this. So this is the volume of water. It's about half a kettle full. So if you were pasteurizing water, as soon as that cools down, that would be safe to drink. That's a decent amount of water there. If you had no other way to purify the water, or if you were trying to keep a low profile in a covert situation and you didn't want smoke or whatever to give away your position, this will definitely get the job done, 100%. You could probably even make a soup or a stew out of that if you threw some wild edibles in there. Maybe some chunks of meat, some squirrel, pheasant, dove, small chunks of venison. Toss it all in there and just let it do its thing for 2-3 hours. And when it's done, you've got yourself a nice soup or a stew to enjoy, and very nutritious with all the broth. Well, that worked amazingly well. I have to confess, I'm very impressed with this. The minor refinements, little adjustments here and there, blew me away. The results. Car sunshade solar cooker and multi-use. You know, I would highly recommend this this setup here for everybody. I'm that impressed with it. You know, I cooked. I'll attach those two previous episodes in the comment box below. Hopefully, I remember to do so. Or I cooked a Cornish game hen, and also the previous attempt at water pasteurization, which is kind of borderline on the temps. But this time around with the refinements, yeah, there's no doubt at all that this will definitely work and get the job done. So I hope all of you enjoyed this episode as much as I did making it. Please like, subscribe, and share. I hope all of you are having an outstanding day or night, depending on where you're located, and I will see all of you very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.